edit out my lisp though, for sure.
How, how am I supposed to do that?
I'm not the sound guy, so
Well, I'm not the lisp guy.
true.
Anyway.
My problem, I guess.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. I don't even know if you drink. You do, right? You want a beer or something? We got some nice little bottles here from my buddy.
You know, I did partake in some beverages this morning, but I would not be against mezcal
Okay.
ever.
That's a nice anejo tequila from my buddy Ryan from Nosotros.
They're nice bottles, nice
Yeah.
labels.
Think about that. There's my YouTube channel now has 190 people, and these people are so kind to still give us product to feature on it. How nice is that?
Very nice, and I can't wait to partake in it.
Exactly. Well, whatever you want, you can pour it. Meanwhile, I'll start up. So, yeah, this is the second Last Calls podcast. The first one had the full up till today 250 listens, which is great. It's a start, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot better start than some people get.
Yeah,
and it's
and that's why I got you on, because you have 16 followers on TikTok.
TikTok has not been too
No,
kind to me.
but-
No,
and you
Instagram
also-
has been a little better.
Yeah, you have 336 followers on Instagram. But what I think is really interesting, while I pour, what I think is really interesting is your videos have also 300 likes. So cheers. Thanks
Cheers.
for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for the mezcal. Thanks for
Yeah.
the water. And the drone that I'll definitely be using.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'll just put this back so it's not in front of your face. What I think is interesting, because my videos get maybe 10% of the people who follow me, they like my stuff. You're at 100%,
Yeah.
which means your videos are in the reels and people who don't follow you see your content. So I think you're up to something really exciting. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you noticed that. I've noticed it too, and it's definitely keeping me motivated. But yeah, we can bring that up later.
Yeah, that's okay. So my first question: what's your full name, and what do you want to be when you grow up?
My full name is Michael Lawrence Alexander White, and when I grow up, I want to be a full-time explorer.
What does that mean?
I want to go where I want, do what I want, and look at what I want. You know, I'm very much into geology. I'm into history. I'm into biology. I'm into so much like science-based stuff. So the more I get to travel, the more I get to explore and whatnot, the more I'm going to be able to fulfill my passion, you know.
And did you study any of that?
I dropped out of college. Second semester, it wasn't for me. I was pushed into going to college, and every day when I hopped on the freeway to go, I ended up at the zoo or the wild animal park or the beach every time. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I could never bring myself to sit into a class and listen to someone else when I just wanted to experience it firsthand.
I get that. I dropped out too, sir. So that makes two of us. It's not for everybody.
No. I'm sure if I wanted to go back now and pursue something a little different, I would be more mature and more like if I spent my own money on it, then yeah. But it's not something I'm too interested in. I'm having a really good time doing what I'm doing now.
Is that something you might do further on the road, because say this all grows and now you have sustainable content that pays your bills? Would you get back into science classes to change your view on anything, or?
Honestly, probably not. There's YouTube now. You could really learn anything you want whenever you want on YouTube or, you know, any social media platform, as long as you're double checking what you're looking at. There's infinite resources to learn anything right now.
That is true. So now the question, you say you skipped school, you went to zoos, etc. How did you end up underwater?
So I grew up in San Diego, and then I just lived 15 minutes from the beach, and I was always fascinated by the crocodile hunter was my hero growing up, and then Bear Grylls after that. I don't know if you know who that is, Man vs. Wild, but just being out.
His own piss.
Yes, and I haven't been put in that situation, but I've been put in similar situations from hiking and whatnot. But so back to the water though, San Diego, I always wanted to learn how to surf. When I was 18, I moved to this little beach town called San Clemente, and that's when I started surfing, surf 3 times a day, and when the water was flat, I'd go snorkeling and swim with leopard sharks and sheep's head, all sorts of cool fish out in San Diego.
That's really cool. And before we start, or before we keep talking about all this content stuff, so when we little context.
Yeah.
So we got to know each other because we opened up a restaurant together. Basically, like Eli, I helped out 2 weeks. You were there. You were still there for
Yeah.
the long run, and you also are the roommate of my girlfriend's cousin, and that's how we got to know each other. And that's how I learned that you used to be an addict.
Yes. Yes, I used to. I first went to rehab when I was 18. That's when I wasn't going to college or anything. I was going to like full moon drum circles, doing LSD, a bunch of cocaine and whatnot. Got forced into rehab. My first experience with Instagram, I actually posted a picture of me doing coke, and my mom saw it. Yep, this is my first experience with Instagram, and she saw it. I got kicked out of the house and sent to rehab, and that was a 3-year process where I learned even more about drugs, and I wanted to try more drugs. And it's the whole thing about me wanting to experience things firsthand. Like, you can tell me all day what something's like and whatnot, and I'm not going to believe it until I do it myself. I need to. And I learned the hard way. And so that's what ended me up in Florida too, was my drug addiction.
Wait, so you moved here with a drug addiction or to get away from the drug addiction?
So I was 6 months sober in San Clemente surfing 3 times a day. I was in and out of psych wards, always threatening to kill myself. Suicide attempts. I couldn't find happiness. I don't know what was wrong with me, and I was desperate. And I was like, one day I was like, I need to move to Florida. I came out here in 8th grade for a science field trip, and I loved it. We were in the Keys, we were kayaking, we were in the Everglades, all the things I do now, So that's what brought me out here. I scammed a detox for my plane ticket, told them, yeah, I'm going to come to detox. And then, they paid for my plane ticket here. I moved here with $15. And yeah, I ate top ramen, coconuts, and fish that I caught when I first moved here, living in a sober living.
Holy shit. Well, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Was there a moment, even before you moved, is there a moment that you specifically knew I'm in trouble, I have an addiction? Or it just like, it was more your mom telling you like, yo.
It wasn't, not when I was 18, when I became like 20 and I started doing meth. And then like I lost my apartment, stuff like that. And a big thing was I was trying to surf and I couldn't catch a wave when I was on meth. Like, that was a big deal to me. Like, every time I went surfing, because I still live near the beach, there was some kind of mental block that stopped me from being able to like pop up on my board and actually ride a wave. And that was like a really big deal for me. And then so losing my apartment, about to be homeless, and not being able to surf was like the two things like, all right, I probably have a problem. And that's when I went back into rehab that time.
Jesus Christ. So not being able to surf was like the drop that overflew the bucket?
Yeah, I was at this really beautiful beach, and there was this wave off this reef, and it was like breathtakingly beautiful, and I just wanted to surf it, and I was in the water for like 3 hours, didn't catch a single wave. I paddled for like 20 different waves, dude, and it wouldn't connect.
That's crazy. And the first thing you think about, this is because my addiction.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly was. What else could it have been? I've been surfing 3 times a day before when I was sober, just nonstop every chance I got. Went to Trestles, which is where like they hold the Hurley Pro. Some really nice waves, and did great. And then, addiction came along and I tried to surf and it just wouldn't connect.
And what was the disconnect? Something between what you see and your body's too slow, or?
I think it was something spiritual. So with the addiction, you go through the 12 steps, and one of the steps is like turning over your life to a higher power. And I'm not a religious person, but I've always had a connection with the ocean, so I chose my higher power to be the ocean. So I feel like when I relapsed, went back onto meth, and then it was just a huge disconnect from my spirituality and my higher power.
So that's wild. So you see the body of the ocean as your, like, that's your compass. Like the ocean,
Yes.
The ocean told you, like, dude,
yeah,
you suck.
Exactly. Yeah, it said straight up. You said, you're trash, man. You're garbage. Like, you're not gonna do anything. Like, you're not gonna be able to experience me fully. You're not gonna be able to appreciate this the way it should be appreciated. And yeah, things had to change, and Moving to Florida was a good break because I have waves here, but I'm also able to dive a lot more here, which is like I feel like a better way to experience the ocean than surfing.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I have never done any of that, which is really interesting to me. Um, do you still surf, or you just start?
Oh, I surf. I surf whenever I can. Yeah,
Okay.
there's not a lot of waves here, which is not the best, but it's also not the worst because it gives me times to focus on other things. So
While you're on the water, when you say you focus on other things, you mean
focus on other ocean related things.
okay.
Yeah. So like if there's no waves to surf, then I'm in the water diving or I'm in like the intercoastals diving or I'm doing something, water based.
And then when did you decide to start putting this on camera? Because I'm sure you've done this years now, but now you're just like started helping people like me who have no clue how to dive or are not necessarily interested enough to take that step. Like as you can see, people love it. People,
Yeah,
the,
I'm getting really good feedback,
yeah,
and I've had people at the restaurant, be like, "Hey, like I love your content," and what I'm like, "Oh, I had no idea you even followed me." Like, thank you, which
yeah,
is so cool to have like guests come in and have that connection with you already. You don't have to build that; they
yeah.
already like know
No,
something
I
about you.
agree. It's so alien to a lot of us,
Yeah,
and that makes it really interesting.
yeah. I mean, every time I go in the water, I find something new. And yesterday when I was in the water, I was thinking, like how there's Publix, how there's a grocery store, the local grocery store, how there's one in every town or like one on every 3 streets or so. The ocean is kind of like that. We go to so many different reefs and whatnot, and they're all so close to each other, but it's so much to explore. It's like a little different Publix or grocery store, every little reef with different items and different things. And it's insane how close these places are, but the environment and the ecosystem and the flora and fauna are just so radically different at each spot. It's insane.
That is crazy. And do you have to go look for those reefs? Is it hard to find them, or are there plenty?
There, so here there are plenty, which is we're really fortunate. We live on the third largest barrier reef in the world. The Great Barrier Reef being the first, Belize being the second, and then ours being the
Ours,
third.
as in what, Florida? Or
Yeah, so from Key Largo down to the Dry Tortugas is a third, and then we up here in Palm Beach all the way down to Fort Lauderdale have like an extension of that reef system, and so we get so much wildlife, and the amount of sharks here is just it's astronomical.
that sounds like a bad thing.
I mean, if like you're a fisherman trying to bring up a tuna, yeah, but if you're down there trying to get content, people love sharks. People love to see sharks. Yesterday, I swam with probably the biggest shark I'll ever see in my entire life.
Isn't that very dangerous?
If you act like a dying fish, sure, but if you're calm about it, no, not at all. My first time swimming with sharks, I went on a charter. They were lemon sharks. They're maybe like 12 to 13 feet. Definitely something too big to do anything. Like you wouldn't stand a chance in the water against. And I was the last one in the water. I was shaking. I was terrified. I almost didn't. I almost chickened out, to be honest. And they were like, "Hey, like you got to go now, or you're just not gonna go in." And me like shaking on my way to the back of the boat and then hopping in was like a light switch being flicked. Like you go from hyperventilating to being just so serene and so calm, and I feel like you're calmer than the sharks at that point. Like you feel so in control. It's crazy because these sharks can do anything they want, and you don't get that feeling when you're with them. You get that you're like a part of the same. I don't. It's a really hard way to describe. It's just so calm. It's
You
you
think there's a mutual understanding at that moment
you
between?
do. You really do. Like the sharks are swimming around you and they're curious, but they're not hungry. They're like, "Hey, like what is this in the water? Could I eat it?" But they're not. If you show signs of a dying fish, they're gonna find out whether they can eat you or not. But if you're calm and whatnot, you keep your eyes on them. They think you're another predator, like they are.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's I've had almost every single time I dive now I have shark encounters. Yesterday was 2 tiger sharks, a bunch of reef sharks. I saw a juvenile bull shark yesterday. It's really cool.
So, and all those sharks, they all, so you just read about them and then you just, like, do they act differently? Are they just all sharks? Like,
So, yes, sharks do act differently. So, lemon sharks normally swim in like packs. So, they can be from like 3 to like 8 or even up to 12, I believe. And they'll swim together. Bull sharks are the most timid sharks. They're very dangerous, but they like to be alone. They don't like competition from other sharks and whatnot. If you're with other sharks, there's a very good possibility that you're not going to run into a bull shark. And if you do, it's going to be on the outskirts. It's going to be further away from everything. It doesn't want to interact with other sharks. And then reef sharks just keep to themselves. Nurse sharks are, all of them are pretty solitude creatures.
so how do you think shark encounters happen? Like, how, like surfers getting bit, or is it because they fall in the water and it's just like they like snap like a dog, or like,
It could be things like that. Also, when I'm in the water with sharks, I'm keeping my eyes on them. When you're surfing, you have your feet dangling in the water. On the first tour I did with sharks, the boat captain said, "If it will dangle, they will mangle." And yeah, that was one of the things that had me a little scared about going in the water, coming in and out when like you're on a ladder and your foot's about to pull up. That shark's a lot faster than you are.
yeah.
But you just that could be a reason why. I've had shark encounters while surfing before too. And I always told myself, I was like, "Oh, I'm not afraid of sharks or anything," until I had a shark come at me once. And it turned out in the last 2 feet of coming to me, but the only thing I thought about was how bad that was about to hurt, this shark getting me. And I was like, I don't believe in God, but I was just like, "Dear God, like, please do not let this shark bite me. This has pain written all over its head. Like, do not." And it luckily turned at the last second. I got out of the water and I was like, "Wow, I'm a liar." Like, I don't enjoy having sharks come up to me while I'm surfing. It's not. I told people, I'm like, "Oh, I'd be so cool. Like, I'm in their home." No, it was nothing like that whatsoever. I was not cool about it. Yeah, I was immediately called out by that shark.
Well, sounds like the ocean, and you have a great understanding. But and then you say, "I don't believe in God," but meanwhile, you do state that the ocean's kind of is your God. Like,
The ocean is my God. I don't believe in that whole like traditional like
yeah,
what Christian Americans would
yeah,
call
yeah,
God.
okay,
It's mine's definitely a lot different. Mine doesn't have like rules or punishments or like mine is there strictly to teach to, you know, enjoy
yeah.
something to spice up life a little bit more.
But it does sound that the ocean has punishments. That's where
It does, but it's not going to punish you for doing like something considered like sinful.
yeah, that's
But for
fair.
being like negligent and stupid, yeah, it will definitely punish you.
Yeah.
I think the closest to drowning was when I got my surfboard leash caught on a reef. And that was here in Florida. And that was like, I had one more attempt to get that leash off. And if not, like I knew, I was just like, "Oh no."
Jeez.
And yeah, my friend was on the beach laughing at me. Yeah, he could saw the whole thing was just laughing. And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, no, completely could have died."
Whoa. So when you say it gets caught on, what happens? The board goes under and it gets stuck.
So I took a wave, and so with reefs, like reefs can just jut out of the water out of nowhere. You could be surfing in like 30 feet deep of water, and it can go to 6 inches deep instantly because of a reef right there. So I was surfing a wave, and it went over a reef, and I jumped off, and my leash that keeps the board to you, so you don't have to swim back to shore every time, wrapped in that reef because the reefs are jagged. There's coral, there's so like pockets, holes. Like the reef's never smooth ever, and so yeah, that's what happened, and I had to undo my leash like while underwater, while waves are hitting me into the reef.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So you get like cut up while.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And like I like to wear gloves. Almost everything underwater is sharp, and I like to assume that everything underwater is sharp. You're not supposed to touch really anything underwater
Yeah.
unless you're taking it for food.
So when you were underwater, are you on oxygen or not?
I do. We call it gas. So oxygen, you can do. It's kind of like the lesser of the certifications. Oxygen, you can only go down to like 90 feet for 30 minutes. On gas, like a nitrogen gas blend, I can be down for an hour instead of 30 minutes. Yeah, which is cool. And I'll do 2 dives, so 2-hour dives, and that's what I'll do to get my content.
How deep are you when you shoot in that content?
90 feet, which is difficult to shoot content because
It's dark.
yeah, red, yes. It's so hard to get light down there. It is so hard to get light. And as I'm getting better, I'm trying like different techniques and whatnot. But red disappears at 30 feet, and then yellow at 50, and then it's like green disappears at like 70, and I'm at 90 where everything is blue.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look that way when you're down there. I recently got contacts to use while I'm diving, and it's insane how vivid everything is.
Oh, you mean when you say you got contact, it's not some color altering. It's just like
No, contacts for
Just
no,
to see,
just to
like-
see, so that way, like I can't wear glasses underwater.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yesterday when I hopped in the water, 90 feet down, we could see straight to the bottom, 90 feet down from the top of the water. It was insane. You knew exactly what you were dropping in onto, and then there were sea turtles everywhere, a bunch of sharks yesterday. It was a really good day. A school of hundreds of jacks together, and they were bullying this little reef shark that was swimming through them. These jacks were chasing the shark that somehow ended up in their school. It was hysterical to watch.
So a bunch of small fish chased the shark.
Yeah, the shark wasn't that big. It was definitely big enough to eat them for sure. But yeah, you'd see like 5 of them just always on this shark's tail, trying to push it out of the group and everything. It was like a powers and numbers type
Really?
situation. Yeah, it was cool.
That's pretty wild. So how do you know how a school of fish works or not?
No, I
Does
don't.
anybody know?
I'm sure people do. So the cool thing about diving here in Florida is on almost every boat dive, there's a scientist doing some sort of research, or there's like a sea turtle tagger. So I get to learn a lot of like about the stuff that I'm so interested in by people that I'm experiencing it with.
Yeah.
Which is such a cool, like, another thing that keeps me diving is I'm surrounded by geniuses who are obsessed with the same thing.
Yeah. That's amazing. Do you have to pay for these excursions or
Yes.
just have your own gear or
I have my own gear. I instantly bought my own gear before I was scuba diving. I was free diving almost every single day out here. We're very fortunate around here to where we have clear waters the majority of the year. We have Blue Heron Bridge, which was voted the #1 dive site in the world in like 2013, and that's accessible by land. You don't even need a boat to do that. The parking lot is 30 feet from the dive spot.
wow.
Yeah, which I mean, if anyone here is local, that's something to check out. Snorkeling, eagle spotted rays, sea turtles, nurse sharks, just endless amount of cool fish, seahorses. It's
Seahorses?
yep, yeah, very yeah.
I thought they were extinct.
No, no seahorses. No, not yet. I'm sure eventually one day we'll do that one too,
Yeah.
but not yet. And we'll knock that off the list.
Kill them all.
Yeah. No, I meant, well, if they kill seahorses, then we're gonna have to like ride manatees and the rodeos that we do underwater, which is coming soon too. Yeah, I've actually had several manatee experiences at the Blue Heron Bridge too. It's so much wildlife there. It's very protected from the ocean, but it gets all that clear water from the ocean, so it's a perfect spot for microfauna and flora to grow. So it's really cool.
So manatees, that's what I learned when I moved to Florida. I learned about manatees. Obviously in Europe, nobody talks about these things. But it's clear that they try to make sure they're all right. There's signs everywhere, like you got to go slow with the boats and
Yeah.
this and that. Like, are they just stupid?
They're friendly.
They're friendly, so they
They're
see a
friendly.
boat and they go and check it out.
Not every time it's not like that, but I wouldn't say they instantly are drawn to boats, but they don't go into like open ocean. They're just habitating the same place that we like to have recreation,
Yeah.
And they're not the fastest animals. They eat grass. Like there's not much to them, like there's no predators for them because they stay away where predators are. So the reason why their numbers are declining is only because of human activity.
Okay.
Sharks aren't getting them. It's solely boats and us destroying like the water supply and stuff like that.
When you say destroying the water supply, is that changing the pH or is it just like
It's like putting chemicals in the water from like industrial farms and whatnot out west. They put so their chemicals that they use on their plants will go into the spillway. Then the spillway opens up when it rains, and that will go into the intercoastal, go into the rivers and the lakes and whatnot. And then so these manatees, it creates like this algae that makes them sick, and then it kills the seagrass as well, what they eat. So that's another part that's doing it, is removing their food supply. And it's
Okay.
not just them that eats it. It's also sea turtles that eat it. It's the green sea turtles that eat them. and they get these tumors on them from eating the seagrass. Yes, so luckily we're able to like rehabilitate them, but still it shouldn't be happening in the first place.
Yeah. So when you say rehabilitate, do we have like manatee farms? Like,
No, not for manatees, for sea turtles.
Okay.
And we don't have sea turtles farm. We have like sea turtle hospitals.
yeah,
but
like the loggerhead.
yes,
in
but there
Juneau.
are initiatives right now for manatees where you can go feed them. You know, people will go out, volunteers will go out with like lettuce and whatnot and feed them. And that's supposed to be helping. And I hope it is. I mean, their numbers have been increasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let me see what I got here for you. I asked you most of the questions that I wanted to know.
Is there anything you want to circle back? I know I jump around a lot.
No, that's fine. Is there anything you want to talk about?
How's it going with McCollin?
So the McAllen's great. It's a great job. I got to talk to a lot of cool people.
Yeah. When were you up in New York? It wasn't too long ago?
That was September.
Was that for work?
Yeah. So every 6 months, all the new hires get up there. That's where everyone is, and get to meet all the new employees and talk about all the brands that are under our umbrella, and just like it's like a fast 4 days into what we stand for.
Yeah.
And we stand for a lot of really good things. We're owned by a major trust, so a lot of our profits are going back to nonprofits and foundations, and so it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. So the next one will be, I think we're going to Dallas, Texas in July or something.
Oh yeah.
We're
I have a big road trip coming up cross country from San Diego here. I have 20 days to do it. And I'll be spending some time in Texas doing some national parks there, like Big Bend and whatnot. Spend a lot of time in New Mexico.
So that means you're going to be not underwater.
No, I will not. I will be the exact opposite. I'll be in the desert a lot. So growing up in San Diego, we had access to the desert, and I did a lot of hiking. I was really into snakes, so catching rattlesnakes and whatnot out in the desert followed. My father used to do the same thing. So yeah. And like 2 years ago, I learned that my great granddad lived in New Mexico, and his job was to catch and kill mountain lions that farmers put bounties on, and he would use my grandpa as bait. I have like a cool picture, like a cool black and white, like super old picture of my grandpa and my great grandpa and my grandpa with guns, and then two big mountain lions hanging next to them. Yeah, in New Mexico. So I'm gonna do a lot of time in New Mexico.
So they put bounties on them?
Yeah. So like I'm sure it's kind of relevant today, probably not here in Florida, but in other places where there's a lot of farms, if you have like predators like wolves or bears or something that's attacking your livestock, then yeah, you'll definitely hire someone to take care of that pest.
Yeah. Do you ever hunt or not?
I did get into hunting a little bit when I moved out here, deer hunting, and never shot a deer. Pig hunting, I did shoot a pig, which was one of the coolest experiences. And I am going to start spearfishing for sure. I'm going to get lionfish that are a very invasive species, one of the best tasting fish around here, too. I'm going to definitely start spearfishing for those because they're destroying our reefs. So,
How do they destroy your reefs?
so they have very few natural predators because of their spikes and how poisonous they are, and they eat the babies and the eggs of almost every reef fish. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
They're poisonous?
very, extremely poisonous.
Like to other species or to humans?
You know, I'm not sure if it's other species, but they are consisted of like nothing but spikes around them. And then I'm sure they are considered poisonous, but they're very poisonous to humans. Someone on one of the dive boats I was on got stung by one on his thumb, and it turned black, and his like skin degloved off of his finger.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so I'll definitely be like wearing gloves and try to take like as many training horses as I can before I start doing that.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm definitely interested in.
And is that the same bounty system, or it's just...
So they do have competitions out here. They have competitions for that, and they have competitions for the pythons out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in Texas they have competitions for pigs too,
Yeah,
because those are
I've heard
invasive
about
as
that
well.
when they
Yep.
like take a helicopter and just
Yeah, mow them down.
mow 'em down.
Yeah, which is I mean, I would definitely do that
Yeah.
100%. When I had a farm in Jupiter, one December, one Christmas, it rained so much. It was like 3 days of nonstop rain, and I was my farm was right on the edge of like 60,000 acres of wildlife.
Jesus.
So when it rained, all this wildlife filled up with water and it's all swamp, gators, snakes, and whatnot. These pigs came into the neighborhoods. So we were popping them from our cars. You drive around with a shotgun. You find one, we caught some. We built a pig pen and 10 pigs 3 months later turned into 40 pigs, turned into like 60 pigs. And during COVID, we had parties where we'd kill the pigs and eat them and whatnot. Yeah, it was a lot.
Such a Florida thing.
Yeah,
to do.
it was very Florida. I adapted very well when I moved here. It took me a while too, but
Oh, I bet.
yeah. I mean, I had the right guidance too. People with boats. I got into bow fishing a lot out here. Bow fishing was one of the sickest things I did. I lived on the water
Bow fishing.
with a bow and arrow, shooting fish. Yeah,
Like just standing on a boat, just like.
I did it. So I lived up in North Palm Beach, and one of the apartments I lived on had this seawall. And when the mullet run in like September, October, these Jack Crevalles will come in and they'll chase these mullets right up against the seawall, and you see the ripples, you hear the splashing and everything. So I would pick them off when they'd come by, you just do a quick swing and try to like trail them, and they'd run right into your arrow. It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Jack Crevalle's not a good eating fish, but we had birds that we were like trying to train as like little green herons and whatnot. Yeah, so we'd feed the jacks to these birds to keep them like coming back and whatnot. They're cool.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, or we'd use it for bait for other fish.
I know nothing about nature. It's actually pretty horrible.
I've learned the most about nature through people who hunt. It's definitely like 100% the most. From tracking animals to how they smell to how they shit, to how they sleep, almost everything to like even like ecosystem change and whatnot, all that.
Well, it's interesting because people like me who don't know anything about nature, they will be 100% against hunting, and it's interesting to hear from you who obviously respects nature as nobody else. You being into hunting because you have a better understanding of how this works.
I had a shot to shoot a deer once and I didn't take it. I have food in the fridge at home. I'm not saying anything bad about people who deer hunt. Like if you know where your food's coming from, if you're following the local laws and whatnot, if you're being ethical, then do it. Like definitely, like those laws are in place to help control the balance of the ecosystem. We've messed it up so much that we need hunters to help. When we've removed wolves from the ecosystem, deer populations grow. Deers carry ticks, they carry fleas, they carry other things that carry diseases. Something has to be in place to check those populations.
Yeah, no, I agree. And someday I definitely want to go hunting. Like, there's people out here, obviously, like Nick, etc., that love hog hunting and all that stuff. And I haven't done it. I even haven't shoot a gun it. So
you've never shot a gun?
No. I mean, I'm from Belgium. Nobody has guns in Belgium. I moved here like 2 years ago.
We got to go shoot clays sometime. That's really fun. Shotguns and clays. You'll come alligator hunting with me. I put in for tags every year. If I get tags this year, you can come with me for sure.
You got to shoot them like behind the head or something.
Yeah, you'll use a bang stick and you'll pop them right in the head after you get them up, though, which is the hard part. Shooting them's the easiest part of gator hunting.
How do you get them up?
So there's two different types to gator hunting. You can either go on boat in like a lake, or you're going to be on a canal bed with like a truck. So with the canal bed is what we do most. You'll be driving down these canals and you'll spot a gator that looks like a good size. You can tell about how big a gator is from the distance from their snout to the eyes. However many inches is about how many feet they are. So, if you have a 5-inch from snout to eyes, that's going to be 5 feet. If you have 12 inches, that's going to be a 12-foot alligator.
Jesus.
So my friends, we don't kill anything under 10 feet. We try to get like the bigger the better. We use all the meat. We save like the skull. We tan their skins, and then so with the canal, you have fishing rods and with these big hooks on them, big grappling hooks, and then these really heavy weights. You'll throw it across, and someone will try to hook it on the back of this fucking prehistoric dinosaur, dude. It's absolutely nuts to do. So when you get it hooked, you start reeling it in. Another person on your team will do the same thing. You'll get 2 hooks in it. When you get it on the bank, this is normally my job. There'll be someone with a rope with a huge grappling hook. So I'll go down there, and you got to hook it on, and then this grappling hook is, as big as this bottle. And then you hook it like through the side, and that's when you pull it up on the bank, and then someone jumps on it. I haven't done this yet.
Jesus.
I haven't done this yet. Someone jumps on this alligator, and pins down its head, and that's when you tape it. You
tape it like shut.
Yeah, you tape the mouth shut, and then that's when you can kill it. On a boat, it's different. On a boat, you don't have the chance to tape it. You're on a very small boat. Sometimes the gator is as big as the boat is.
Exactly.
You put bait out for the gator on a fishing rod, no hook or anything. And what happens is when the gator takes the bait, it will sink down. Well, there's a flap in the mouth of an alligator that shuts so it doesn't breathe in water when it's underwater. Well, the bait's already behind that with the line. So when that shuts, that line's not coming out because it's attached to the bait.
Jeez.
Yep. So you have to get this alligator to the boat. And this alligator doesn't want to give up the food,
Yeah.
And then that's how you do it off the boat.
And why exactly are we hunting alligators?
So alligators don't have any predators. Their species have completely rebounded and then some, and they only die from starvation or disease.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so they can live like infinitely unless a disease kills them or they starve. So kind of humane to kill them.
Yeah. Yeah. How, when you say I don't kill anything under 10 feet, what are the biggest alligators you'll find around there?
We had a friend kill like a 13-foot alligator, which weighs like 600 pounds or 700 pounds something, and they get astronomically bigger. From 10 foot up, you're jumping hundreds of pounds at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, with each foot, it's insane.
That's wild. Maybe one day.
Yeah, no, it's sick. It's sick. It could be the first gun you shoot. I mean, it's not really a gun; it's more of a bang stick.
Yeah.
But
no, I feel I should go do like a shooting range and shoot some.
Yeah, no, 100%.
First.
I'm honestly shocked you haven't shot a gun though.
Me too. I tried to get a course at the Palm Beach Shooting Center, so I signed up. I was like, that's the closest I came, like gun safety.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, sorry, we overbooked, so you can't join. So they just booted me out.
You should get your hunting license, and that will have a little bit of gun safety, and then you'll be able to open carry to and from hiking and fishing, which is
Perfect. That's all the stuff I never did.
Yeah, I know you desperately need to carry a gun with you because you hike all the time and whatnot. But it's cool though, like when you're going like scouting and whatnot, when you have to drive like 3 hours away and whatnot, it's nice to know that, like, and with like boars, I've seen boars that are over like 300 pounds, dude. Like that look like I've seen a boar so big I thought it was a cow. I thought someone's cow is loose in this little like wildlife area. Yeah, dude, it was insane. And that was the first pig I shot, not that 300-pound one, but we were on this ridge. And there was this dip, and my partner was like, shh, get down. We got down, and right when we popped back up, these two pigs were coming. And this, honest to God, felt like something out of Call of Duty. Like, I can't even believe it, dude. So we both pop up. So I'm on the right. I shoot the one on the right. He shoots the one on the left. So he has to fire 2 shots. I only fire 1 shot because my pig drops like a rock. So, we're like celebrating in that quick second, and he turns around. He's like, there's a boar coming at you. I need to reload. And so I turn around, and this boar is coming right at me.
So
we killed 2.
Like they have like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This thing had...
out?
Yeah, so we killed 2 of its girlfriends, dude. These were...
Dude,
yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah, we killed 2 of this boar's girlfriends. This thing comes up from behind us, dude. And so I swing, and I literally... It was like a video game mode. It was like no thinking it required. It was just like... boom, and I popped it, and it ran off. Like, you heard it, like, yip, and then ran off. And then we had to track down his, which was, it took us, like, 2 hours. And this person I was with, man, like, he could see a pin drop of blood and know, like, every, like, 30 feet and know which way this pig went.
Really?
Not only did this pig get shot, but it went in the water, which is, like, the worst thing because it washes all of its blood off. So it's a lot harder to track. He was able to find him, dude, and it took us like 2 hours. It was insane.
That is crazy.
Yeah, we've done like night tracking of a deer once that like it took us all the way till 10 p.m. to find out that it went into a property that we couldn't go into, so we lost it. But like we're out there on our hands and knees at night, looking at every leaf and whatnot, trying to find blood.
And even at that moment, that's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love being in the woods at night. When I first started hunting, I didn't know you're supposed to like use your light to get into your tree stand. I was really stupid. And so, it'd be like 4 a.m. and you're trying to get into your tree stand and I wouldn't have my light on and I'm like feeling around in the woods, hearing all this thing. And I'm like hoping nothing sees me, but they can definitely hear you. So there's no difference to have a light on at night. And so doing that several times, I have no fear of the dark whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool. Like when I was in the Everglades backpacking at the beginning of this year, I did a lot of hiking at night in the national park, and I came across a saltwater crocodile at 2:30 in the morning. The first night I got down there, I almost creamed a coyote with my car too. That was a good one. I didn't though. I'm grateful I didn't. But this thing was a monster coyote for Florida.
Yeah.
Most of the mammals here stay relatively small just because there's like no winter, so there's no hibernation. There's no need to stock up on food. So like the bears here, the deer here,
I
coyotes.
didn't know there were bears in Florida.
Yep, we have the Florida black bear, and they range all the way from Everglades to like Georgia.
Do they eat people?
No,
No.
no.
They attack people?
I think maybe twice.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on this. Don't quote me on anything I've said here today. I dropped out of college, and I've learned everything from Florida rednecks. So don't quote me on anything.
Well, on that note, I think we're good to go. I thank you so much, Mikey.
Yeah.
I hope I can send some people to your content. Honestly, I think it's very valuable, and it's just good stuff. It's just like no weight.
Yeah, and it's only getting better too. The more I'm learning, the more I'm doing it. I bring my camera every time. I'm constantly looking at videos and seeing how I can improve. Yeah, I'm just nonstop working on it. It's something I enjoy, and I enjoy being able to share that with other people too.
Yeah, and it looks like people are enjoying the same way. So I mean, when did you start this? Like a couple of weeks? It's pretty new.
So
right?
I started about a year ago, but it wasn't underwater footage. It was just me like exploring around on a paddleboard and whatnot. And then I dropped off. I started working a whole lot to save up money, and which I did, and I was able to acquire what I wanted to get. And now I'm back to not working so much. So now I've gotten back into it, and it's been about 2 weeks, and my Instagram's already, near doubled than what it was.
I think you're on a exponentially growth path, and I hope I'm right.
I'm feeling that too. I don't want to jinx it, though. We're gonna knock on wood for that.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah, I'm putting in the effort too.
Yeah,
and
I mean, people can see that. It makes sense.
yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the drink. This is really great mezcal.
It is really good.
Yes,
It is.
appreciate your sponsors.
They're nice people. But I forgot to circle back on one more thing before we end this up. So you end up at some point in your life basically homeless, like worst, like rock bottom.
Yeah.
Who took you in as like even an employer? How did you go from there to here, basically?
I was building boats for a little bit out here, and while I build boats, I was still like in and out of recovery. I dabbled in heroin a little bit while I was out here and whatnot, and then after dying once on heroin, that was enough for me to stop.
Wait, you died once on heroin?
Yes, I overdosed on heroin once while I was out here. And the first thing I did when I came to was the absolute first thought was like, my mom just lost her son. And like, that was like, and then I started throwing up because I was Narcaned twice. And that was just horrible. I threw up for like 30 minutes straight, just nonstop. And then it was some of the worst pain I've ever been in. And that was enough for me to stop. So I built boats for a little bit. My back gave out. Once my back gave out, I could barely walk. I was hired by Andy Dugard and Chef Pushkar Marath. And they hired me when I could barely walk as a food runner. So my main job was to walk around with food. The same day I was fired and could barely walk, they're like, yeah, we'll give you a job. Just try your best. That's all we ask of you.
Man, I love that.
Yeah. And, what is it? Almost 2 years later, I'm still working for them. Helped open up Ela Curry Kitchen, which is phenomenal.
It is.
Because of them, I've been able to travel, vacation, spend time with my family, work on my passions. Very grateful for them.
Yeah, they're good people, man.
Yeah, I've also completely changed the way I eat and view food, the way I go to restaurants, the way I treat other people to food, the way I cook. Everything is completely different. And eating's a large part of people's lives. And I feel like people are so absent-minded sometimes about it. When they are like, oh, I'm just going to go get McDonald's for the third time this week. Like, Your body doesn't want that. Like, Tom, trust me. Like, you deserve better than McDonald's. Like, I know, like, it may seem like it's good because it's convenient, but there's other really good convenient food. We have our butter chicken, that comes out so quick, and that is some of the best soul food you can get, man.
I agree, man.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people when they get a butter chicken, say, get ready for the best sleep of your life.
It's true.
Yeah,
that's true. It's so good. I hope Pushkar will be one of my guests at some point too.
Oh yeah, yes. It'd be worth it. James Beard, semifinalist, right there.
Oh yeah, he'll win it.
We were at I was at Stage's 3rd anniversary this morning, celebrating. The restaurant was completely packed. A lot of vendors there. Aperol Spritz, Chainbridge, a whole bunch of people there.
I'm trying to pass by tonight and see a little bit of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl's not for me. No football for me.
I'm not invested either.
Yeah, Belgium. I didn't expect you to be.
just trying to be nice and say happy birthday to Andy and Pushkar.
Yeah, well, you know what? Try the butter chicken mac and cheese while you're there.
Oh, is that new?
Yeah, they put it on for the anniversary. Okay. Unbelievable. They had a foie gras waffle this morning. That was so good.
The decadence.
Yes, it was very decadent. It was foie gras, pomegranate syrup, and fresh strawberries on a waffle. It was insane. One of my favorite things.
That's amazing.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you so much having me on. It was a blast.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah.
I think I know it's weird when somebody just reaches out and says, I want to talk to you on a microphone. So.
I've been in weirder situations. I mean, we didn't get into like the music festivals or all the LSD and mushrooms.
Yeah, that might be for a second.
Yeah,
part.
we're probably going to have to do a second. When I do my podcast, you're going to have to be in there.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to come dive with me at Blue Heron Bridge sometime, do some snorkeling with me there.
Maybe I need a near-death experience too.
Yeah, you got to get tangled up on the reef, man. Really open your eyes. It's either you could do the reef near-death experience or the heroin one. It's your choice.
I'm going to go natural. Heroin's probably natural, too.
Not as natural. Yeah, not when it comes from, like, Saudi Arabia, passes through China, and then makes its way back over here. Not too natural.
On that note, Mikey, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Sweet.